जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद प्रणाम संकीर्तन की जय श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय हरे कृष्णा लेट मी जस्ट शेयर द स्क्रीन anybody remembers what we did last week
We started 17th one, Prabhuji.
yeah and what's the topic of 17th chapter
So basically Parikshit come across the Kali.
yeah
So there was conversation going between Parikshit and Kali. So the dressing of a Kali looks like a king, but his acts are those things like a Sudra. So
yeah
he was questioning Kali. So why he's doing that one? So he can punish death for him for his activities because it is not accepted in his kingdom.
yeah so do you know why this is being spoken why meaning now this is a kind of incident that is being narrated by Sutta Goswami, right? Why
Correct.
he is speaking? So he has meaning Shaunak Rishi, who is the leader of all the various sages who have assembled there. Okay, he has asked certain questions, right? What is it? Which question is being answered here? Any idea?
I think, Prabhu, what will happen to the religion now after Krishna has gone?
Okay, so that question was already answered by him in the 40th verse of the 4th chapter, that Srimad Bhagavatam is the principle of religion now after Krishna has departed. So that was answered. Post that, there was one question that he had asked about the history of Bhagavatam, meaning why and how was Bhagavatam spoken, what happened because of which Bhagavatam was spoken. So that is a kind of a over encompassing section question, because of which this whole narration that started from fourth or fifth chapter until the end of the last chapter of this first canto, which talks about the history of Bhagavatam. Within that also, there was another question that was asked after Kunti Stuti about Parikshit Maharaj. You know what, because of what did happen, because of which he became the king, and what happened further, and all that. And that is why these verses are being spoken now. Okay. Now, I was not able to fully attend last week's lecture by Keshav Bharati Prabhu. So please forgive me if I'm speaking something which he has already spoken, and you can let me know so that I will not spend time on that. Now, in this particular chapter, okay, the entry of Kali is described totally. Now, Kali in itself cannot be described fully. So he has to be described in conjunction with the good elements. And so bad element is known to be bad only when they are compared to be good. And similarly, good elements can be understood that they are good when they are compared to bad. So Kali is his activities, his nature is being described when he can be compared with two things here. Okay, so there is one bull and then there is one cow. Okay, both of whom are being beaten by this Shudra person. Do you know who represents the bull and who represents the cow?
The religious principles and earth, ma, that thing.
Okay, and the cow?
Cow is a Dhartima.
Yeah, correct. So why Dharti, meaning why Surabhi, meaning is representing Mother Earth? Any idea? What is the role of Earth here? No. So do you remember what happened prior to Krishna advented on this earth? There was somebody who approached Brahma. Who was that somebody?
Dhartima only approached Brahma.
Yes. So Brahma liked cows very much. So she purposely took, meaning Mother Earth took the form of a cow and went to Brahma, and she requested him to reduce the burden of this earth. And she was saying that there are so many kings who do not deserve to be kings, who are lowly people with respect to morality and behavior, that they are actually burdening me. So please get rid of this burden. And that is when he says, at this point of time, I cannot do it. Let us go to Vishnu. And then they go to Shirsagar and pray for Kshiro Vishnu. And that is when he says, it's not my time to come now. Krishna himself will come. And then they all together go to Krishna. Now that Krishna came and performed all his pastimes and all that, and after Krishna left, again the meaning Kali had advented even when Krishna was there. But Kali was not able to spread his influence because of Krishna's presence. So when Krishna departed, then Kali got a kind of an open ground to spread his influence. And that within that small period, meaning when Yudhishthir asked Arjun and also Bhima also, they could see that the symptoms of Kali were there. And post that also good period passed away, after which Parikshit Maharaj was handling this whole kingdom. And that is when he realized that people have gone mad. People are not behaving correctly. And to indicate to us, to people like us, that the influence of Kali Yuga is only going to become worse and worse and worse, this particular incident is being talked about now. So that is why the bull is representing Dharmaraj. Who is Dharmaraj?
Yamraj.
Yamraj,
Yamraj.
right? Yeah, correct. So Yamaraj himself came down in as Dharmaraj and in the form of what do you say? In the form of a bull. And Surbhi represented Mother Earth. And now the Shudra, who is that Shudra? Any idea? Shudra is representing somebody.
Kali
Kali.
only.
Kali.
Kali. And he is dressed as a king. Any idea why? See, all these are indications, are symbolic representation of something that is going to happen later. So he is dressed as a king only to indicate that powerful or so-called intellectual people are going to actually not possess any knowledge, any morality, but they will rule the general people. And that is why the values, the principles, the system of religion, karma, and all that will become worse and worse on a regular basis. So until the previous verse, we I think completed until verse number 8 last time. So until then, what has happened is the background has been explained, right? So Maharaj Parikshit, seeing that this lower caste Shudra was beating a cow and a bull, okay? And this particular stuff is important, you know. So my personal take on each and every verse of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is absolutely each and every alphabet, each and every word is important because Shri Krishna, when he spoke Bhagavad Gita, or Shukadev Goswami and Sutta Goswami, when they were narrating Bhagavatam, they were not interested in elongating the text more and more just because the bigger the scripture, the better glorification they will have. Their intention was not to, you know, make it like a Hindi movie, which can actually be completed in 1.5 hours, but just purposely 3 घंटा चलाना है इसके लिए 3 घंटे का movie बनाना है. So anything and everything unrelated also gets added. They were not interested in doing that. So they were interested in ensuring that the right message in the precise words is passed on. And for that matter, Parikshit Maharaj had precisely 7 days. Yeah, Sukadev Goswami cannot spend more than 7 days in speaking Bhagavatam and keep the main message aside and speak on something unrelated. He wouldn't do that. So that's why they had to ensure that they use the perfect words which describe the maximum meaning. And this particular point, you know, as if they had no owner, is very important actually. Because when dharma does not have a owner, which means a protector. So like a cow and a bull, if they have a owner, they are confident that they will be protected by this owner in case somebody comes to harm them. So when it indicates that as if they had no owner, it also means that means they had no protector. So when they had no protector and the Shudra was beating them, they had absolutely no hopes. So from a symbolism perspective, what does it represent? That dharma, if it is not protected by the Lord, it will be misused and always overruled by powerful people, especially those ones who are not following dharma. So now, when this was being done, and the cow was helpless, the bull was helpless, the Shudra was beating him and all that, he was standing on one leg. Again, this is a symbol. And this is explained from verse 17 onwards. What does this one leg mean? Okay, so we will see when it comes to it. Anybody has any idea? We may have spoken in one of our lectures. You know, what does this one leg mean?
It refers to the 4 Purusharth.
It's the 4 principles of religion, not 4 Purushartha. So the four principles of religion are austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. Sorry, the main one. Austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So the fact that only one leg he was standing upon indicates that there is only one of these four pillars now remaining. Austerity had died off, cleanliness had died off, and mercy had died off. Only truthfulness is there. And that also we can see today that truthfulness, although to a very low quantity, it still exists in the world. We don't have cleanliness, which is not physical cleanliness, it is talking about mental cleanliness. And each of these pillars are represented by certain do's and don'ts. Okay. So you might have heard me talking about it that ISKCON follows four principles of what's not supposed to be done. Okay. So we do not eat meat, we do not gamble, we do not intoxicate, and we do not have illicit affairs. And everything is connected with one of these four pillars. So austerity, no meat eating relates to mercy. Mercy on animals, mercy on each and every living entity. Cleanliness refers to no illicit affairs. Austerity refers to no intoxication, and gambling relates to truthfulness. So each of these, if we are able to follow, that means we can say that yes, we are practicing these pillars of the religion. So now, practically speaking, meat eating is rampant, gambling is rampant, what do you say, illicit affairs is rampant, and intoxication is rampant. So that is what is represented via this particular one leg, that at this point of time, only truthfulness to a certain extent is available. Rest all have been degraded to the maximum extent. Now we will go to the next ones now. Yeah, okay, fine. So the questions asked by Maharaj Parikshit, they start in verse number 7, and we will continue that now from verse number 9. Hare Krishna. Any question until whatever has been covered so far? No? Okay. So text number 9. Ma saurabhe yatra shucho vyetute vrushaladbhayam ma rodiramba bhadram te khalanam mai shastari. Translation. Who's reading?
O son of Surbi, you need lament no longer now. There is no need to fear this low class Shudra. And O mother cow, as long as I am living as the ruler and subduer of all envious men, there is no cause for you to cry. Everything will be good for you. Purport. Protection of bulls and cows and all other animals can be possible only when there is a state ruled by an executive head like Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit addresses the cow as mother, for he is a cultured, twice born Kshatriya king. Surbi is the name of the cows which exist in the spiritual planets, and and are especially reared by Lord Shri Krishna himself. As men are made after the form and features of the Supreme Lord, so also the cows are made after the form and features of the Surabhi cows in the spiritual kingdom. In the material world, the human society gives all protection to the human being, but there is no law to protect the descendants of Surabhi, who can give all protection to men by supplying the miracle food, milk. But Maharaj Parikshit and the Pandavas were fully conscious of the importance of the cow and bull, and they were prepared to punish the cow rule killer with all chast- chastisement, including death. There has sometimes been agitation on for the protection of the cow, for what for the but for want of pious executive heads and suitable laws, the cow and the bull are not given protection. The human society should recognize the importance of the cow and the bull and thus give all protection to those important animals, following in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit for protecting the cows and Brahmanical culture. The Lord, who is very kind to the cow and the Brahmanas, go Brahman Hitai, will be pleased with us and will bestow upon us the real peace.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So now we see basically that there is an assurance being given by Maharaj Parikshit, right? So there are times wherein you feel that you are being punished, you are in a difficult situation, and as was mentioned previously, as if there is no protector. So you understand that there is nobody who can save you also. So when a person is in such a state, the first thing that is supposed to be given is an assurance that don't worry, I will protect you and you will not have any danger now. So these people, they had learned, meaning the 64 aspects of Vedas or various types of knowledges. So one of the knowledge being imparted to the people, the student, is communication, how to speak, what to speak, and all that. The emphasis that they are supposed to give on different words in a statement is also taught during that time. The words that are supposed to be used in a statement, that is also spoken. And one of the examples given is so when in Ramayana, when Lord Ram sends Hanuman to search for Sita Mata in the south direction, okay, then Hanuman takes that jump over Lanka or the ocean, sees Sita Mata, meets her, and gives her the message of Lord Ram, and then he comes back. Now, Hanuman was a highly knowledgeable and intellectual person. He had learned the complete knowledge from Surya Dev. That's also a big story in itself. And because of which he understands how to speak, what to speak. So he understands that Lord Ram has been without Sita Mata for almost 1 year. So his anxiety levels will definitely increase because I have taken some time to reach out to Sita Mata, especially from the time when we were asked to leave. It has been quite some time now. Now, when he is flying in the air, he knows that he will be visible to Lord Ram. Okay. So, when he has to speak, when he has to open his mouth to give the news, okay, that Sita Mata, he has found Sita Mata. The minimum 3 words are required. Na? I have found Sita Mata, right? In Sanskrit, if you speak. But he purposely changes the order to say Mil Gai, meaning found, Sita Mata, and I. He speaks in this particular manner. Wow, what is most important for Lord Ram to hear? Whether Sita Mata was found or not found. So that's why the word found is most important. And then who was found is second most important. And the least important is who found it. So that's why he chooses the order to ensure that Lord Ram is not, his anxiety doesn't increase. So similarly, you will see this particular stuff. The moment he starts speaking, Parikshit Maharaj, first he is assuring both of them that I am living as the ruler of this kingdom and I am following the path laid down by Lord Krishna and Arjun. Okay, so that is why you do not need to fear this low class Shudra. And as far as I am there, you will not need to cry. Everything will be good for you. It's such a important statement, especially when you start off the conversation. And why this is important? It is because the cows are considered to be a emblem of religion. Yeah. What is any idea why are cows considered to be so important from a religion perspective? Why is it that Lord Krishna or Brahma or various other saintly people, they worshipped cow so much? Any idea? Why is it said go Brahmana Hitacha? Go is cow. Hitaya meaning benefits. He always thinks about the benefits for the cows and Brahmanas. Why cows are given this level of importance? Firstly, their products, whatever comes out of their body, is beneficial for the human society materially as well as spiritually. The milk that comes out of the cow is beneficial for improving the knowledge or intelligence of a human being. The tissues within the brain actually get nourished, because of which the knowledge level increases and the retention of the knowledge increases. That's why it is recommended that especially children should drink cow's milk. Any and every other product of cow's body, may it be her stool, her urine, or whatever it is beneficial. People are now realizing the benefits of the stool of a cow, whereas our Vedic culture knew about it hundreds and hundreds of years back. On top of that one, cow is such an animal who, despite how much ever hardships she undergoes, okay, how much ever torture she undergoes, she never leaves the path of Shama and tolerance. She forgives and she tolerates all the mistakes committed to her by anybody. And that's why the cow, it is mentioned in one of the previous verses that one can draw religious principles from the cow. Hare Krishna. Okay. Any question or can I move on? No? Okay. So let's look at verse 10 and 11. Yasya rashtre prajaha sarvas trasyante sadhvya sadhubhihi tasya mattasya nashyanti kirtirayubhago gatihi एष राज्ञां परो धर्मो ह्यार्तानामर्ति निग्रहः अत एनं वधिष्यामि भूतद्रुहमसत्तमम्. Translation.
Hare Krishna. Translation. O chaste one, the king's good name, duration of life, and good rebirth vanish when all kinds of living beings are terrified by miscreants in his kingdom. It is certainly the prime duty of the king to subdue first the sufferings of those who suffer. Therefore, I must kill this most wretched man because he is violent against other living beings. Purport. When there is some disturbance caused by wild animals in a village or town, the police or others take action to kill them. Similarly, it is the duty of the government to kill at once all bad social elements such as thieves, dacoits, and murderers. The same punishment is also due to animal killers because the animals of the state are also the praja. Praja means one who has taken birth in the state, and this includes both men and animals. Any living being who takes birth in a state has the primary right to live under the protection of the king. The jungle animals are also subject to the king and they also have a right to live. So what to speak of domestic animals like the cows and bulls? Any living being, if he terrifies other living beings, is a most wretched subject, and the king should at once kill such a disturbing element. As the wild animals is killed when it creates disturbances, similarly, any man who unnecessarily kills or terrifies the jungle animals or other animals must be punished at once. By the law of the Supreme Lord, all living beings, in whatever shape they may be, are the sons of the Lord, and no one has any right to kill another animal unless it is so ordered by the courts of natural law. The tiger can kill lower animal for his subsistence, but a man cannot kill an animal for his subsistence. That is the law of God, who has created the law that is a living being subsists by eating another living being. Thus, the vegetarians are also living by eating other living beings. Therefore, the law is that one should live only by eating specific living beings as ordained by the law of God. The Ishopanishad directs that one should live by the direction of the Lord and not at one's sweet will. A man can subsist on varieties of grains, fruits, and milk ordained by the God, and there is no need of animal food, save animal food, save and except in particular cases. The illusioned king or executive head, even though sometimes advertised as a great philosopher and learned scholar, will allow slaughterhouses in the state without knowing that torturing poor animals clears the way to hell for such foolish kings or executive heads. The executive head must always be alert to the safety of the prajas, both man and animal, and inquire whether a particular living being is harassed by any place by another living being. The harassing living being must at once be caught and put to death, as shown by Maharaja Parikshit. The people's government or government by the people should not allow killing of innocent animals by the sweet will of they must know the courts of God as mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Maharaja Parikshit quotes here that according to the courts of God, the irresponsible king or state executive jeopardizes his good name, duration of life, power, and strength, and ultimately his progressive march towards a better life and salvation after death. Such foolish men do not even believe in the existence of a next life. While commenting on this particular verse, we have in our presence the statement of a great modern politician who has recently died and left his will, which disclose
Sorry.
which discloses his poor fund of knowledge of the courts of God mentioned by Maharaja Parikshit. The politician was so ignorant of the courts of God that he writes, I do not believe in any such ceremonies, and to submit to them, even as a matter of form, would be hypocrisy and an attempt to delude ourselves and others. Have no religious sentiment in the matter. Contrasting these statements of a great politician in the modern age of those of Maharaja Parikshit, we find a vast difference. Maharaja Parikshit was pious according to the scriptural codes, whereas the modern politician goes by his personal belief and sentiments. Any great man of the material world is, after all, a conditioned soul. He is bound by his hands and feet by the ropes of material nature. And still the foolish conditioned soul thinks of himself as a free to act by his whimsical sentiments. The conclusion is that people in the time of Maharaja Parikshit were happy, and the animals were given proper protection because the executive head was not whimsical or ignorant of God's law. Foolish, faithless creatures try to avoid the existence of the Lord and proclaim themselves secular at the cost of valuable human life. The human life is especially meant for knowing the signs of God, but foolish creatures, especially in this age of Kali, instead of knowing God scientifically, make propaganda against religious belief as well as the existence of God, even though they are always bound by the laws of God, by symptoms of birth, death, old age, and disease.
Right. Thank you, Prabhuji. It was quite a long purport, right?
Jai Shri
So,
Ram.
the key point that comes out here is basically three things. One is the duty of a king. Second is the protection of every living entity. Now we understand the duty of a king is basically to protect. Okay, now let us look at it from a Varnashram Dharma perspective. So do you all remember who created Varnashram Dharma? Anybody?
Lord Krishna himself, I think.
And where is it stated?
Bhagavad Gita is
We have read
stated.
in Bhagavad Gita.
Correct. So we'll just look at that verse quickly just to get that understanding what he is saying. Yeah.
Jati Varna Maya Srishtam.
Yeah. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagashah. According to the three modes of material nature, that is guna, and the work associated with them, that is karma. The four divisions of human society are created by me. Okay. Now we'll move on to this particular verse. Now, why this is important to understand? So every varna, let's say in this case, particular varna is Kshatriya that is being talked about. So every varna, the Kshatriyas, they have a code of conduct, what they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do. Now we understand that the word Kshatriya itself comes from two words Kshata and Kaya, that is harm and protection. That means the one who is supposed to protect the weaker sections who cannot protect themselves from any harm being committed by some stronger person, stronger section of the society. So that person, like the king, is supposed to protect the weaker people. So that is a do for him. Now, what Shastra mentions is if you do the do's, then you will get rewarded. If you don't do the do's, you will have a ramification. There will be consequences. You can get punishment. And similarly, there are don'ts as well, that you're not supposed to do what is mentioned as a don't. If you don't do it, despite being enticed into it, then there are rewards as well for not doing what you're not supposed to do. But if you do what you're not supposed to do, then again it is sinful and you will be punished. So both ways, or both the probabilities are looked at it in this way. Now the question automatically comes up, right? If a Kshatriya is supposed to protect somebody, let's say person A is very strong and is harming person B. So now person B has to be protected as per the code of conduct. And if person B has to be protected, then if person A is strong, then the Kshatriya has to use some tactics, some strength, and if required, some weapons as well. Which means there is a chance that the Kshatriya will harm person A in the process of protecting person B. So if he is harming him, then obviously the Kshatriya should be liable for punishment, right? Because he is causing harm to somebody. But that is not the case. The Kshatriya is not harmed. Why? Because he is following the moral code of conduct. And that is what he is supposed to do. So in this particular scenario, okay, the Kshatriya king Parikshit is about to punish Kali in order to protect the cow and the bull. Now, this is his code of conduct. Then there is this word praja that comes in. So praja, when we say India is a republic country, meaning we are a prajatantra. So what do we say? We are the praja and the constitution is the tantra. Okay. So we consider only human beings in praja, isn't it? If a chicken or a goat or a lamb or even a cow is killed for the satisfaction of the tongue of some people, then that is not considered to be wrong by this Prajatantra. Okay. Why? Because they consider this to be a right food to be eaten. And that's why the constitution here does not give punishment to people for killing animals like the cows or chicken or lambs and goats, something like that. But the constitution awards punishment for killing animals like tiger and lion and elephant or something like that. Now, this is a double standard actually. What makes the life of a tiger and a lion more important than the life of a chicken or a cow or a lamb or a goat? How do we compare the life with each other? The life of a human being is considered to be more important than the life of an animal, especially according to Vedic Shastra, which is fine. But between the animals, especially looking at the constitution, what makes the constitution feel that why does it feel that a life of a cow is less important than the life of a tiger? So I'm not sure if you remember, but some time back there was one lioness or lion, I'm not sure, uh, who was uh, disturbed or killed or harmed, I'm not very sure, by certain people, and there was a kind of a worldwide, an activity undertaken by these animal organizations to protect that lion. So which is nice, which is good. You are showing sympathy to the animals. But then the automatic question comes up is to why this furor only over the killing of a lion? And why not when you kill so many other animals on a daily basis? On the Thanksgiving Day in US, hundreds and thousands of turkeys are killed. Yeah. On various other occasions, so many millions of animals are killed on a daily basis. Why this? Why is their life not important? Now, here from Bhagavatam, we understand that the animals of the state are also the praja. And this is how the kings ruled at that time, that they did not distinguish between the lives of two animals. Everything was important. So cow and bull and other animals are also equally given importance. And it becomes the automatic responsibility of the king to protect each and every animals. And not just the domestic animal, but even the jungle animals. And that's why Prabhupada is writing here, stating that jungle animals are also subject to the king's protection. So if jungle animals are given so much importance, what to speak of domestic animals like cows and bulls? They are more helpful in cultivating. Now, harm is being defined in multiple ways. Okay. If you take a knife and pierce somebody's body, then it will obviously be considered as harm. But Prabhupada doesn't mention only physical harm. He talks about mental harm also. Just even terrifying another person is also considered to be harm. And that also deserves punishment by the king. Where we think, mentally, when we disturb others, okay, we consider that to be not harmful, which is okay. I did not cause any harm to that person. But mental harm is also considered to be harm. And there is one song written by, I think, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, if I'm not wrong. So in that, one important statement comes up, which says, Jive Daya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharma Sara. So to not harm is obviously the requirement. That is what one should do. But to remain at that neutral level, that I don't cause any harm to anybody, is not alone sufficient. You need to have mercy as well for them. And that mercy is not just that you don't harm them, but you need to also bring them on the right track. So this human life that we have got has to be utilized in the right manner. If this life is used for any other purpose which does not help us achieve the objective of human life, then also it is indirectly a harm being caused. So there is one verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Gurur na sasyat, janani na sasyat, pita na sasyat. Okay, so it says basically that if you cannot, meaning if you are a guru, he's saying you should not become a guru if you cannot help the disciple reach salvation. If you are a mother or if you are a father, if you cannot take your children to the level of Krishna Bhakti and to the level of salvation minimum, you are not eligible to become even fathers and mothers also. So that is that level of mercy that Bhagavatam talks about. Now he is saying that, okay, so to extend on that topic, so to Jive Daya Krishnanam Sarva Dharma Sana, he's saying the level of Daya that is expected by one person to show to another is not just not to harm, but to give Krishna Nam to other person. That is the best form of Daya. Jive Daya, meaning Jiva is living entity, Daya is mercy, Krishna Nam, okay. The best form of Daya to any living entity is Krishnanam Sarva Dharma Sar, the conclusion of each and every religious scripture. So we can link it in this way also, that physical harm should be avoided, mental harm should be avoided, the neutral state should be avoided, and even the mercy to the level of giving Krishnanam to everybody should be followed. So it says, Jivo Jivasya Jivanam. I think it is in the 3rd chapter and the 25th verse, 25th chapter, 3rd canto, 25th chapter. So every living being has to live upon other living beings for his subsistence. Okay. So which means what? We can eat only those things which have life in it. We cannot eat non-living things. We cannot eat mud. We cannot eat stone. We cannot eat wood. These are non-living things. We can only eat living things. We can eat plants, fruits, trees, leaves, flowers. Okay, some people eat meat also. So, but it's correctly written here so nicely. No one has any right to kill another animal unless it is ordered by the courts of natural law. And the exceptions, meaning that the natural law states, are for animals like lion, tiger. Their body is made in such a manner that they cannot eat trees and leaves and all that. They have to live on other animals. But our body is not made that way. We can easily live on fruits and leaves and vegetables, and we do not need to maintain our body. We do not need to live upon the food or the body of another animal. And because the government in itself does not have laws which prohibit this kind of eating, the non-vegetarian food eating, that's why people eat this in a rampant manner, and because of which the path increases and the degradation of human being continues to happen more and more. Hare Krishna. I think I'm going a bit slow. Let's take the next verse.
Prabhu,
Prabhu.
Prabhupada has mentioned some leader, political leader. Any idea who is he referring to?
I know, Prabhu, but I'll prefer to avoid mentioning that, because we upload these lectures on YouTube also, and it becomes kind of, politically incorrect statement to mention the names here. So there are certain places where Prabhupada has spoke the names of such people openly. There are certain times where he has not mentioned. I know who.
Is it Mahatma Gandhi?
Prabhu, I will prefer to avoid the name here.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Just a hint is basically Prabhupada was from Bengal, so you can understand.
Oh.
को वृश्चत् तव पादां स्त्रीन् सौरभेय चतुष्पद मां भुवं स्वादृशा राष्ट्रे राज्ञां कृष्णानुवर्तिनाम्. Translation.
He Maharaj Parikshit repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull. Thus, O son of Surupi, who has cut off your three legs? In the state of the kings who are obedient to the laws of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, Krishna, there is no one as unhappy as you. Purport: the kings of the executive heads of all states must know the course of Lord Krishna, generally the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and must act accordingly in order to fulfill the mission of the human life, which is to make an end to all miseries of material conditions. One who knows the course of Lord Krishna can achieve this end without any difficulty. In the Bhagavad Gita, in a synopsis, we can understand the course of Godhead, and in Srimad Bhagavatam, the same course are explained further. In a state where the course of the Krishna are followed, in a state where the course of Krishna are followed, no one is unhappy. Where such courts are not followed, the first sign is that 3 lakhs of the representatives of the religion are cut off, and thereby all miseries follow. When Krishna was personally present, the courts of Krishna were being followed without question. But in his absence, such courts are presented in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam for the guidance of the blind persons who happen to be at the helm of all affairs. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Today itself in my morning lecture, we had this verse 4.14 being spoken. And 4.14 Krishna says, Namam karmani limpanti name karma phalestuha itimam yobi janati karma bhirna sabadhyate. So he says, Namam karmani limpanti. I am not bound by the karma. So karma bhirna sabadhyate. I am not bound by karma, but still I perform these activities. Okay. And now automatically a question can come up to a person who has not understood who Krishna is. So he says, okay, you are not bound. What difference does it make? So the question can be understood, or the verse can be understood only when we understand who Krishna is. What is his position? What is our position? What is the difference between we performing an activity and he performing an activity? Because he is not attached to the results of the karma, and because he does not need anything, but despite that he performs karma, that itself distinguishes between his karma and our karma. So now, to extend that point, it is very important to understand who Krishna is in order to follow his instructions. So let's say there is a child, let's say 8-year-old, 10-year-old child who wants to become the world's best cricketer. And there is a series of videos, let's say for example, Sachin Tendulkar makes on how to play cricket. Now this boy will not bother to see the video series if he does not know who Tendulkar is. When he understands that he has been the world's best cricketer for a good amount of time, only then his interest in that video series will come up. So the words of Tendulkar will be valued only when the value of Tendulkar is known. Similarly, Krishna's words will be valued only when the value and importance of Krishna is understood. So that's why you see, when codes of Krishna are not followed, okay, it is only when Krishna himself is not known to the people. Who doesn't follow the code of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who created the whole material world? The one who doesn't understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any problem in following them. That's why you see, meaning taking this point to Bhagavad Gita again, Bhagavad Gita is considered to be the base of the philosophy, which where Krishna explains who he is. And until we understand who Krishna is, there is no point in understanding Bhagavatam. Why? Because Bhagavatam is all about Krishna. It is all about the devotees of Krishna. It is all about the instructions and theory about Krishna. It is all about the instructions and theories that the uh, great devotees of Krishna have given to the general populace. And all this revolves, centers around that one big pivot, the one pillar that is Krishna himself. So until we understand who Krishna is, the codes of Krishna, the instructions in Bhagavatam will actually have no sense, no meaning. And that's why it is always said that one should understand Bhagavad Gita first, understand about a little bit about Krishna, so that the position of Krishna can be understood in order to accept the instructions about and by Krishna, which are given in Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. One other point was basically not following the codes of Krishna will have miseries in our life, and that's not a surprise because, as I mentioned, there are rewards of doing what one is supposed to do, and then there are penalties for not doing what one is supposed to do. So when you see people have a lot of material problems, or they live in a city or a state where there is either too much of drought or too much of rainfall, or there is too much of heat or too much of cold. Yeah? So these results are actually coming out of the karma that was performed by either this individual person or a collective karma performed by the people of the village. Hare Krishna. So verse number 13. Akhya hi vrushabhadram vaha sadhunam krutagasam atma vairupyakartaram parthanam kirti dushanam. Translation.
Hare Krishna. Translation. O bull, you are offenseless and thoroughly honest. Therefore, I wish all good to you. Please tell me of the perpetrator of these mutilations which blacken the reputation of the sons of Pratap. Purport. The reputation of the region of Maharaja Ramachandra, of that of the kings who followed in the footsteps of Maharaja Ramachandra, like the Pandavas and their descendants, are never to be forgotten because in their kingdom, offenseless and honest living beings are never in trouble. The bull and the cow are the symbols of the most offenseless living beings because even the stool and urine of these animals are utilized to benefit human society. The descendants of the son of Pratha, like Maharaja Parikshit, were afraid of losing their reputations, but in the modern days, the leaders are not even afraid of killing such offenseless animals. Herein lies the difference between the region of those pious kings and the modern states ruled by irresponsible executive heads without knowledge of the courts of God. Jai
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada.
So nicely written here. So the two different eras are being compared with each other. At one end, there is Maharaj Parikshit, who is striving to ensure that the reputation of his ancestors is not lost, let alone his own reputation. His ancestors, like the Pandavas, is not lost because he takes pride in calling himself as a descendant of Pandava. He doesn't call himself as and being is proud about being Maharaj Parikshit, but he is happy to be called as the grandson of Yudhishthir and Arjun, uh, and a grandson of Lord Shri Krishna. And you would have seen that, right, in quite a few verses in this chapter itself, the previous verses, he has mentioned that in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna is ruling. How can there be such a kind of a behavior? And Arjun also he referred to, right? And Pandavas also. So he is saying that I will ensure that the reputation of the Pandavas is not impacted. I will ensure that. And accordingly, he is ready to perform his actions. But then Prabhupada compares with people today, the politicians today, and he is saying that that person, Parikshit, was protecting the bull and cow. Here, they are ready to kill the bull and cow. Why? Because they are not worried at all about the life of the general living entities, the animals especially, and let alone animals, they are not worried about the life of human beings also. And they behave in this manner because they do not understand the codes of Krishna. They do not understand or they have any knowledge about the do's and don'ts which have been prescribed by the Lord. And when that happens, then you consider yourself to be, behaving in absolutely any manner. Just the difference is that you are unaware of the punishment that accompanies such sinful activities. So we will see in the subsequent verses how when Dharmaraj starts answering, okay, that at that time, see, his question is, please tell me the perpetrator of these mutilations. He's asking, who has cut off your three legs? In the previous verse also he's asked, right? Who has cut off your three legs? Yeah. And he is asking the same thing again here. Who is the perpetrator of these mutilations? Mutilations is disfiguring the limbs of the body. That is called as mutilation. So these mutilations, the three legs which have been cut off of the bull, the Parikshit Maharaj is asking that bull himself, who has done it. So please tell, so that he gets an opportunity to give justice to the bull by giving the relevant and equivalent punishment to the perpetrator. Okay. And you will be surprised by the answer that the bull gives. I don't think we will cover that today, but it's absolutely amazing. So we'll move on to verse 14. Jane nagasya gham yunjan sarvatosya cha madbhayam sadhunam bhadrameva syad sadhu damane krute. Sorry, sadhu damane krute. Yeah. Translation. Please.
Whoever causes. Sorry, carry on.
Okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Whoever causes offenseless living beings to suffer much fear me anywhere and everywhere in the world. By curbing dishonest miscreants, one automatically benefits the offenseless. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Dishonest miscreants flourish because of cowardly and impotent executive heads of state. But when the executive heads are strong enough to curb all sorts of dishonest miscreants in any part of the state, certainly they cannot flourish. When the miscreants are punished in an extremely exemplary manner, automatically all good fortune follows. As said before, it is the prime duty of the king or the executive head to give protection in all respects to the peaceful, offenseless citizens of the state. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful and offenseless, and therefore it is the prime duty of the state to arrange to convert everyone to become a devotee of the Lord. Thus, automatically, there will be peaceful, offenseless citizens. Then the only duty of the king will be to curb the dishonest miscreants. That will bring about peace and harmony all over human society. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you. So beautiful it is written now. So to understand this point, we need to understand the correlation between peace and happiness. And if there is no peace, there cannot be any happiness around, right? So we all, especially from a material world perspective, everybody is striving for happiness, but hardly anybody is peaceful. So how can there be happiness without peace? Okay? So in Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter, Krishna asks this rhetorical question to Arjun. Okay, so let's look at that so that it will become a bit clear. 2.65 and 66. Okay, so let's read from 64 onwards. But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. Prasade sarva dukkhanam. For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. So what is the governing factor or the fundamental factor? A person should be free from attachment and aversion. Meaning I need not be remain attached to something, or I need not be averting something, giving up something unnecessarily also. And to able to control the senses through regulative principles of freedom. So these are the foundation blocks. What happens? We obtain the mercy of the Lord. Okay. So when you are satisfied in Krishna consciousness, what happens? Mercy of the Lord, you are satisfied with that, and then you get rid of the threefold miseries of the material existence. So that is the next level. And automatically the intelligence level improves. It moves on from material level to spiritual level. But one who is not connected to the Supreme in Krishna consciousness, what happens to such people? They cannot have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind. Intelligence is not there because the Krishna consciousness is not there. That is not there because there is a lot of attachment and aversion. And that is why the mind is not steady, mind is not peaceful. If the mind is not steady, there is no possibility of peace. And finally, and if there is no peace, how can there be any happiness? This is the correlation of various factors which lead to happiness. And today, what are mostly people trying to be? They try to be happy. They want to become happiness, but they do not know the factors which lead to happiness. They do not know that formula. So what Prabhupada is saying is, if you make if the king makes the state, everyone to become a devotee of the Lord, okay, automatically there will be peace. And that is what we saw here, right? A devotee of the Lord has reached that stage because he has given up the attachment and aversion. He has obtained the mercy of the Lord. So a devotee of the Lord is naturally peaceful. And thus there will be offenseless citizens and peaceful. And if there is no offense, then the burden on the king to protect them reduces, because there is no dishonest or miscreant kind of people, and everything natural, which is meaning right quantity of rainfall, right quantity of sunlight, moonlight, water, air, and all that, everything is available in the right quantity, which makes your life even simple and allows you to focus on the Lord more, so that you do not need to worry about this the basic necessities of life. They come to you at the right time, in the right quantity, in the right manner. You are able to consume them, and you are able to focus on the Lord and utilize this life in the best possible manner to achieve its objective. So this is how the whole thing, the cycle, can be linked with each other. And Prabhupada mentions that will bring about peace and harmony all over human society. But however, what we want is, we do not even know what is the meaning of the word happiness. We think that material things bring about happiness. We think having good car, great bungalows and bank balance and all that brings about happiness, right? But we are so foolish that we can't even cross question this particular thought process, that if these were to bring about happiness, then Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates kind of people should have been the happiest people on the whole earth. But we see that they are still not happy. Yeah. So that means it is very obvious that it is not that these things bring about happiness. But despite that, we continuously foolishly think that material things, material prosperity brings happiness. Hare Krishna. So verse number 15. Anagah sviha bhuteshu ya agas krun nirankushah ahartasmi bhujam shakshad amarta amartyasyapi sangadam.
An upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. The denizens of the heavenly kingdom are called Amar or deathless due to their possessing a long span of life, far greater than that of the human beings. For a human being who has only a maximum 100-year duration of life, a span of life spreading over a million of years is certainly considered to be a deathless. For example, from the Bhagavad Gita, we learn that in Brahmalok planet, the duration of one day is calculated to be 4,300,000 into 1,000 solar years. Similarly, in other heavenly planets, one day is calculated to be 6 months of this planet, and the inhabitants get a life of 10 millions of their years. Therefore, in all higher planets, since the span of the life is far greater than that of the human being, denizens are called deathless by imagination, although actually no one within the material universe is deathless. Maharaj Parikshit challenges even when such denizens of heaven, if they torture, if they torture the offenseless. This means that the state executive head must be as strong as Maharaj Parikshit so that he may be determined to punish the strongest offenders. It should be the principle of a state executive head that the offender of the courts of God is always punished. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I believe this particular point was had come up right recently. I think Jai Govind Prabhu was giving a lecture, and I had spoken about it, right? What is the difference of Chiranjeevi and what do you say, and Amar and all that, right? I'm not able to find that verse exactly. Anyway, so there is a misconception in the society that Amara meaning one who does not die. But that is not the case actually. Amar is a duration of life which is very, very high. And but Prabhupada mentions it very clearly. And but there are multiple levels of this one. Okay. So there are 4 levels of mortality. So the first one is people like us who are on this earthly planet, and we are called as Martyaha. Martyaha meaning those who are bound to die. Of course, everybody will die, but we are on that earthly planet whose duration is very low. It's like 100 years now, which used to be 1,000 years before, which was 10,000 years in Treta Yuga and 100,000 years in Satya Yuga and 1,000 in Dwapar Yuga. That is the Martyaha level. The next level is Amara level, wherein the residents of heavenly planets, which is what Prabhupada mentions here, and that usually live for about 1 Manvantara. Okay, so one Manvantara is equal to 71 Yuga cycles, 71 Chatur Yugas. So one Yuga, one Chatur Yuga is 43 lakh 20,000 years into 71. That is the duration. Let me just do that calculation. 43. So that comes to almost 306 million years. And I think it's almost similar with what here Prabhupada has written here. Yeah. So there is a ratio of duration, meaning according to their one day, how much is our duration. So Prabhupada mentions that it is when one day is elapses in the heavenly planets, it is equivalent to 6 months of our planet. Now, Brahmaloka is even of a higher duration. So, do you all remember the Brahma Vimohan Lila, what had happened during that time? So, Brahma, when he, stole the cows and the gopas from Krishna, he went and he kept all of them in one particular place. And then it took him only 1 second to do that and go and come back. During that 1 second of his time, 1 year in on earth had elapsed. And for that 1 year, Krishna expanded himself in the respective form of the cow or the gopa and was staying with the respective parents and the calf and gopas, not cow. And then the calf used to stay with the cow and the gopas used to stay with the parents. That 1 second of Brahma translated to 1 year. And when Brahma said that just now I stole all these cows and gopas and here I come and see and they all are there again here living merrily. What has happened? And then gradually Krishna reveals himself. So that 1 second of his was equivalent to 1 year here. And whereas the duration of time, the elapse of time reduces as the levels of the planetary systems comes down. So 1 day of heavenly planet translates to 6 months here. And even it is like, the life is also very short here in on earthly planet. So that is about the Amara aspect. Then there is a Chiranjeev aspect. So that is equal to approximately 1 day of Brahma. So Amara guys, they live up to almost 1 Manvantara, which is 1 by 14 day of Brahma. So in 1 day of Brahma, 14 Manus appear. So the duration of Amara is 1 by 14 day of Brahma, and Chiranjeev is 1 day of Brahma. And then there is the last one that is called as Nitya. Nitya is eternal. They do not have any death at all. And that Nitya is possible only at the level of transcendence, which means when you give up your current material body and achieve moksha and go back to Vaikuntha, then you are that Nitya. You do not get any body again. So Maharaj Parikshit is saying that I have the ability to go to heaven and punish that entity, living entity, whoever has caused you damage. So be confident that I will be able to not just protect you, but even give you justice by punishing the relevant person. Okay. Now comes the last verse, after which Dharmaraj will start speaking from the verse 17 onwards. Dharma Uvacha. So this is another mechanism by which Parikshit Maharaj is trying to convince the bull Dharmaraj to reveal the name of the person or persons who has caused him such a pain. Okay. Radnyo hi paramo dharmaha swadharma sthanupalanam shasatonyan yatha shastram anapadyutpathaniha. Translation. Who's reading?
Hare Krishna. Translation. The supreme duty of the ruling king is to give all protection to law-abiding persons and to chastise those who stray from the ordinance of the scriptures in the ordinary times, when there is no emergency. Purport. In the scriptures, there is a mention of apad dharma or occupational duty at times of extraordinary happenings. It is said that sometimes the great sage Vishwamitra had to live on the flesh of dogs in some extraordinary dangerous position. In case of emergency, one may be allowed to live on the flesh of animals of all description, but that does not mean that there should be regular slaughterhouses to feed the animal eaters and that this system should be encouraged by the state. No one should try to live on flesh in ordinary times simply for the sake of palate. If anyone does so, the king or the executive head should punish him for gross environment. There are regular scriptural injunctions for different persons engaged in different occupational duties. And one who follows them is called Swadharmastha, or faithful in one's prescribed duties. In the Bhagavad Gita 18.48, it is advised that one should not give up his occupational prescribed duties, even if they are not always flawless. Such Swadharma might be violated in case of emergency if one is forced by circumstances, but they cannot be violated in ordinary times. The state executive heads is to see that such Swadharma is not changed by the follower, whatever it may be, and he should give all protection to the follower of Swadharma. The violator is subject to punishment in terms of the Shastra, and the duty of the king is to see that everyone strictly follows his occupational duty as prescribed in the scripture.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So it's such a clear distinction between what one is supposed to follow on ordinary times and what can be disregarded in case of extraordinary times, right? But what happens is we have a tendency to take or follow the extraordinary time as an example and use that example to follow it on in ordinary times. So कृष्णा ने भी झूठ बोला था, तो इट इज ओके इफ आई ऑल्सो लाई. पांडवों ने भी इनकरेक्ट मीन्स अप्लाई किया था इन महाभारत वॉर टू विन. So it is okay if I also do it on a regular basis. So and so person had also lied, or so and so person did so and so thing. So it is okay. So what happens is we always find an excuse in the personality or in the life story of some great personality, and that is how we prefer to perform some incorrect action. होता क्या है, like we see that many a times we want to do certain thing, but we do not want to take the responsibility of our action. So that's why, and we see that in a professional life also. There are times when you will see somebody from your team coming up to you and asking you for your advice. Okay, and अगर आप उसको कुछ advice देते हैं and that is not acceptable to him, then he will debate with you to convince you about why that advice is not wrong, why is not right, and why you should give him some other advice. And finally, he will, play around with the situation in such a manner that he will make you speak what he wants you to speak, so that the responsibility of the decision lies with you and not with him. तो हम लोग कभी कभी अप्रूवल मांगते हैं ना, तो अप्रूवल दे दो करके बोलते हैं कि हम लोग डेस्क पे जाते हैं किसी मैनेजर के, किसी वाइस प्रेसिडेंट के, एंड उसको बोलते हैं कि यार अप्रूवल दे दो, ये काम करना है. तो व्हाट यू आर सेइंग कि बॉस ये काम करना ही है, you have no alternative than to give approval, and by giving the approval I will ensure that the responsibility lies with you. अगर मुझे कोई पूछता है tomorrow why did you do this, I'll say okay, so and so person had approved it, you go and ask him. So we always try to find excuse and try to take the shelter of somebody else's approval and somebody else's life story. तो यहाँ पे भी वही होता है कि in ordinary times there are certain things which are prohibited, okay, and in extraordinary times it is allowed to do. But हम लोग क्या करते हैं, extraordinary times का approval we use it for ordinary times. So Prabhupada had told some of his disciples to go to Russia and preach Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So these disciples told Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, Russia, there is no vegetables available to eat. Only red meat is available. How can we eat that? So Prabhupada then said, okay, no problem. You eat red meat and then you preach to them. So imagine the person who staunchly rejected these activities, these four activities. Meat eating was one of them. He was saying, okay, fine, you eat red meat, not just normal meat of chicken and all that. Red meat is like either pork or beef. You eat red meat but you preach. So you can understand the quantity of importance he gave to the preaching activity. So these are extraordinary times that the bigger, higher level purpose is to spread Krishna consciousness to everybody. But if certain material aspects are hindering you from doing it, they prohibit you from doing it, they disallow you, then you have to play around with that prohibitions in order to achieve the higher level objective. That is this extraordinary times. Now, why is he saying all of this? Any idea? Why is he specifying the ordinance of scripture of it ordinary times? Why is he mentioning that?
So it should be only an exception,
Yeah,
not a norm.
but what is the context here? Meaning, why is he speaking this to the bull? He could have just asked him, no, okay, fine, let me know who has done it, I will punish him. एक वर्ष में खत्म हो गया. But
Is
he
it
has,
because
sorry,
in Kali people will follow other people's dharma?
no, let me make that situation clear. See, in this verse, that is verse number 16, he is again convincing the bull to speak the name of the perpetrator. He says that um, in the verse number 15 also, giving him the reason why he should speak. Now in verse number 14 again he is saying that they should suffer me because I will punish them. Okay, he's giving that confidence that I will punish them. He's again asking, please tell me the perpetrator of these mutilations. And previously in the previous verse also he is saying, who has cut off your 3 legs? And again he's using the word repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull. Why
Maybe
is he asking the bull so many times to ask him and tell him, ask him the name of the perpetrator?
maybe he's trying to understand whether it is being done as a generally or he is in an extraordinary time or something. Why
Okay,
the
so
person is doing like that?
okay, so the reason is he is confident that he will not, the bull will not tell him the name of the person. And that we will see in the next verse. And why, you will see in the next verse. I'll not reveal the suspense, but he is confident that the bull will not speak the name of the perpetrator. So in order to ensure that the bull should feel convinced about 2-3 things, about why it is necessary to protect him, why it is necessary to punish the perpetrator, and the ability of Parikshit Maharaj to be able to do that. On all 3 perspectives, Parikshit Maharaj is convincing him that you should tell me the name of the perpetrator. Because Parikshit Maharaj knows that he will not tell him the name of the perpetrator. And we will see the reason why in the next week. Okay. So Hare Krishna. Any other question? No. So thank you all for joining. Hare Krishna. See you next week.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you.